Hey, what's going on? Eric Cortina here. All right, so we're back at this job that we're doing the step-by-steps. As you can see, we started on the forms already. We just pretty much picked up where we left off. I could not find any rebar caps on this. Like I said, this is a very small town, so what I did find was some 3/4 inch PVC 90s, or these are CPVC, and I just painted them orange, put them right over the rebar, and they work well to protect them. So anyway, that's what's going on here. We got skid steer, excavator, everything's here. We don't have any fill dirt. The reason for that is it's been raining like crazy everywhere except here. So we couldn't get any fill dirt today, but we got started on the forms anyway. So we're gonna get these forms up, hopefully all the way. We're just gonna leave the front there open so that we can bring in the fill dirt. And I'm gonna be back tomorrow and we're going to start on the ICF. So that's what's happening here. All right, so there's not a lot of interesting stuff to show you today, so I'll be back tomorrow and I will show you the ICF. See you then. All right, so we're back. That's what we're going to be using to do the ICF forms. We're using build block. ICF is something that I've never done before. However, Jason here is going to tell us what to do and how to do it. Tell me who you are, Jason.
I'm Jason Christensen. I'm with Lone Star Build Block. We're supplying the ICF forms, and we're going to stack these forms up. We're going to put some rebar in them. We're going to fill them with concrete. We're going to have a lid on top of it so that it's a complete concrete box.
Right. So you've done safe rooms in the past, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why you're here, because
Correct.
You know about this a lot more than I do. I mean, what's the most common use for a safe room?
Well, safe rooms typically have been used for storm shelters during tornadoes. But what we're doing here, you know, my sister lives in Oklahoma. She has a steel box in her garage, and it's literally only enough room for them to stand inside there during a tornado.
Okay.
With these, we can make them larger and more comfortable. So what I like to tell people is you got 3 things you can do with this. You can put your valuables in there, because this is going to be large enough you can store your valuable stuff in there. And it's going to be fire resistant and storm resistant and burglar resistant. So you set your valuables in there. Then you can set your family in there during a storm if you know there's a tornado or some event there.
Right.
The next thing is you can go hide out from somebody you don't want to listen to, because these are really, really soundproof.
Right.
Quiet.
What about wind rating? What's a wind rating on something like this?
When we get done, this wind rating can be up to 250 mile an hour plus. And the reason they say that is because an F4 tornado maxes out at 250 miles an hour. After that, an F5 is unlimited. Well, we can't test unlimited. Right. So we say it's good for 250 mile an hour winds.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So this, tell me about this block. This is going to be the 6-inch cavity?
Yes, sir. This is a 6-inch build block. We call it 6 inches because it talks about the opening in the foam itself.
Okay.
So this is a 6-inch cavity. You can do 8, 10, 12, up to 24 inches we can do.
Wow. So tell me these ribs inside, what are these called?
So we call these webs.
Okay.
And these serve 2 purposes. First, to keep the foam together so that the concrete is held in place, and then gives us a place to attach our drywall to it. I'm sorry, our rebar. We put our rebars right here in these fingers. And the second purpose is to attach our drywall and our finishes. So at each one of these, about a 1/2 inch behind this foam is a 1.5 inch web. And if you look right here, we demark on the foam where those are at. So when your installer comes to put his finishes, he sees right where he can hit already.
Okay.
So these are good for 150 pounds of pull-out strength on the 1.5 inch web, just like you had a wood stud there. Then we have these little marks here every 6 inches there's a web, and every 6 inches there's a little mark. This little mark here is good for 400 pounds of pullout.
Wow. Okay.
So if you have something heavy duty on the wall and you want to make sure to hit it, you can measure up from the floor. You know, every 6 inches you're going to have one of these marks.
So these marks are the 400 pound?
Correct. That mark is a 400 pound pullout. So the rest of these marks on the block are just for ease of installation.
Okay.
We don't necessarily need to use a tape measure. I just tell my guy I want a block with 3 webs and 2 notches, and he goes and finds me that block by looking at these markings on the side.
I see.
So I don't need him to know a whole lot, just be able to look and follow directions pretty much.
All right, man, I'm excited. So how long do you think this will take?
Today we're going to stack the blocks, and we're going to try to get the deck up there today, and we should, you know, barring any big problems, we should be fine with that, and be pretty close to ready to pour.
Wow, so you think you're going to get this whole thing stacked up today?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. It's like a little small room.
Yeah. All right, let's do it, man. All right, so this is exciting. Like I said, back when I was a concrete contractor, we poured some ICF houses. We've just never stacked the ICF. So this is, to me, very exciting because, like he said, he says we're gonna have it ready today, ready to pour. All right, so the first thing they did is they made sure everything was square, and now they're shooting this track down onto the concrete, and this is gonna, from what I understand, the block is gonna sit perfectly inside of here, so that's gonna keep the block from moving, and as you can tell, gives them a perfectly straight edge. They're using this is a gun which is similar to Ramsets, but a lot faster. All right, so they're setting the first block. So tell me, from now, what do we do? The process.
We start on one corner and we work to the other corner, and we come to the middle.
Okay.
And sometimes we don't fall in line. We want to try to keep these webs in line, so it makes it easier for you later when you're doing your installation, your finishes.
Okay.
So if they don't line up, then we have to cut a common seam, and that's why we work from corner to corner.
Okay, I see. So start at the corner, work in, and if you have to cut a block, put in the middle.
Put in the middle. Right. If you have doors or windows, obviously not in a safe room, but in a house or something, we put them over the windows so we have less to cut.
Oh, I see. Perfect. So they have the corner here, and the door's going to be over here. So they left the gap right here. You said you make all your small splices right in the middle?
I don't want any little small pieces on the edges. We want all our little cuts in the middle so that they're locked in by the rest of the forms.
How do you splice them? Like, how do you put it in there?
I'm going to cut the block with my trusty saw.
Okay. And then you just slide it in, and
Yep.
that's it? Do you glue it or anything?
Nope.
Okay.
If I don't have a gap bigger than about an inch, then I don't worry too much about it.
Okay.
If people think, oh, I gotta foam up every little thing, it doesn't really need to happen, because the only thing that can get through there is slurry.
Okay.
And the slurry is not gonna hurt nothing.
Okay.
It's not gonna blow out. When we pour these, we can go up 4-foot lifts with our pour.
Okay.
So we pour a 4-foot. If we got a bigger than about an inch, then we need to foam it. And I'll show you the foam later.
Okay.
It'll be pretty easy. So
now,
right here.
that is about a, what is that, about a 5 inch?
It's 6 inches.
6 inches?
Yeah, it's a little shy of 6 inches, but I'm gonna squeeze it in there.
Do you have a minimum that you would, for example, is there at some point that you say, you know what, I would rather just cut here and then just have a bigger piece?
Yeah, sometimes. But what we try to do is use up our little scraps, and that's what we do with them. Okay. But I will say that one of the takeaways, the things to remember when you're doing this, is always round to the nearest inch.
Okay.
So, you know, right here, you can see I've got 5 3/4 right there. Okay. So I'm just gonna make it 6, and I'm gonna slide this block just a little bit that way.
Okay.
And
now on the next one, do you stagger it or you keep it the same?
On the next one, we're gonna flip the corner over.
Yeah.
See, this is the long side and this is the short side. So we're gonna flip the corner over so that the short side's here and the long side's there.
So it'll automatically stagger the.
It'll automatically stagger. Alternating running bond is what we want.
Jason, did you like to play with Legos as a kid? Because this is basically what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Legos. You know, I make it look easy, but for the first timer, I'll tell you, my first customer that had one of these houses, He did it, and he took him 40 hours to put his safe room together because he didn't know what he was doing.
Wow.
I try to reduce my movements. I stay in the same place every time, and I just use these guides right here. That's what they're for. So I don't have to measure or nothing. See, this piece can get used over there.
Right. Okay.
Slam it down. Open it up a little bit. That's it. That's all it takes.
You don't have to glue it down or anything?
No, once
That's
I
what
get
the
it up
track's
a
for?
few and I level it, I'll put a screw in these just
Oh, I
to keep
see.
it from rolling in and out.
Oh, I see.
This piece will go right here. Our block is two tabs, 8 webs, and 2 tabs. So to keep the pattern consistent, I always need 2 tabs before a web. Right here, my web is falling right here. So this is going to be what you call the common seam, because now my webs they don't match up right. I can go ahead and cut this block on either side of that, and I'm going to have a common seam there, meaning that it's open all the way to the top. And we're going to put plywood across that to keep the foam from bowing out on us. But the reason we do that common seam is to keep this pattern on each side. When your finishers come in to put drywall or metal or whatever, they can see everything's lined up, and we don't have something that gets cattywampus and scattered, and it makes it harder for installation.
Okay. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because if you cut the bottom or the top, it's the same thing, right? If you, if you cut this one or that one, it's the same
Correct.
thing.
You're gonna have a common seam. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter which way you cut. You know, you could go ahead and you could cut these 2 tabs off, and cut these right here and stick it like that. But I still have a common seam, and I'll maintain that seam all the way up, because if I don't, the next row, like I said, we're gonna flip the corner over.
Yeah.
So that means the short side will be here. So
Right.
now my lengths are gonna be different.
Okay.
So after the first 2 courses, we know what the wall's doing. We just mimic it all the way up.
So you're just gonna go alternate. So if we call the bottom one 1, and we call that one 2, so then you're gonna go 1 2 1 2 1
That's
2
right.
all the way up.
Copy it back and forth.
Okay.
All you have to do is look down here for this course right here. What did I do? Oh yeah, cut it right there. My guy can have it cut, ready to go, so he's already seeing what's next, and he's ahead of me.
Right.
And he's paying attention to what's on the first row, because we're on the 3rd row.
Right.
I'm over here. He could be looking over here and saw cut.
A simpler way would be odds and even,
Yep.
and then odd even.
You
So
could
all
do
the
odd
odds
and
are the same and all the evens are the same.
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
Just pay attention, and I'll tell you the other little trick. Okay, another trick, and you'll see this on the Build Block Training website. They'll show you this. Some old school guys, they don't like it, but I found it to be helpful for guys that don't know how to read a tape. We have tabs, meaning these are denote 1 inch. Okay, this is 2 inches, but it's a web. So I have tabs, webs, tabs, and I use a 3-number system. The first number being the number of tabs on this end, always starting from the left. Okay, always starting from the left. Number of tabs, then the number of webs, then the number of tabs.
Oh,
So
I
if
see.
I tell him I need a 2 3 2, he's gonna go find a block that'll get me a 2 3 2. This block we cut over here will be a 2 2 2, or a 2 2 1. I'm sorry, because starting from the left, two webs, 1 tab.
Oh, I see. So the first number is the tabs to the left of the
Starting on the left
to
of
the
the
left
block.
of the web.
Yeah. No, starting on the left side of the block.
Right.
So if these were gone,
Well,
then it'd be
that-
0.
Right. So the first number is
Tabs.
how many tabs to the left of the web, and then the second number is how many webs,
Webs.
and then the number,
and then
and then the what do you call these?
I'm just calling them tabs.
Okay, so the tab web. So you do
Tab, web, tab.
tab web tab.
Tab, web, tab.
All right.
And it
So
seems
this would be
weird,
2 2 1.
Yep.
Because there's 2 tabs, 1 web, well, 2
2
webs,
webs,
and
and
1
one
tab. So 2 2 1.
And if we had another tab over here, he could bring me that block, and I just whack that tab off, and boom, here we go. So that's the beauty of it. He doesn't have to go out there, because this. Somebody supposed to tape. They say I need 11-inch block. Well, that 11 inches can be anywhere on that block. I need to know where the webs are so they line up.
All right. Well, that's why you're here, because you know what's going on.
course on the horizontal, because that's what the safe room specs call for.
So how far apart are these? One to the next?
The web from here to this one is from these are 6 inches apart, and 6 inches apart this way.
Okay.
The block is 16 inches tall.
Okay.
So that's why I put one at the top of every block, and we alternate these so
In
that
and out.
yeah, so that they'll hold the vertical kind of in place where it needs to be.
I see. So you guys can tell they lock in just like Legos, nice and tight.
Yep.
All these big Legos.
Just big Legos, lock them up, give them a love tap. This is 3 blocks together, okay? Ready?
Oh, I see.
They don't separate unless you really hammer on them.
Okay.
So we can lose about 30% of these teeth before we start to become concerned about the block separating.
Oh, okay. So you just supporting, that's it. You don't add angle iron or anything for support.
The beauty with this stuff is what we concern ourselves with more is cover over the opening. So we can use a 6, 18, 20 foot. You know, you can go 20 foot opening with you got what 4 feet of cover over that window over there. You could go 20 feet easily with the concrete with no additional structure required.
Wow. Okay.
So when you do the big openings, you have more versatility with this, because the biggest thing we have to do for a large opening is increase our rebar size.
Essentially, we're creating a bridge.
Exactly, a bridge or a beam across the.
You guys ever do post tension?
I don't. I know post tension. I haven't done it, no.
But do they do it on ICF?
I am not familiar with anybody doing that on ICF, because you don't have a way to it doesn't need that camber and tightening and everything.
Right. Because it also depending on how tall the wall is, right? Because if you have let's say the top of the window's at 8 feet and the wall is 12 feet, you have 4 feet.
Cover, yeah.
Or whatever I said,
10,
I forgot.
12, yeah.
4 feet.
Yeah, 4 feet. We don't do math in our head. Do I use a calculator for that?
Anyway, so yeah, that a 4 foot beam by 6 inches, yeah, that's pretty strong.
That's a good beam, yeah, and you can span a long ways with that. And if your engineer says, hey, you got too much roof load, we need to beef up the rebar a little bit, okay, well then instead of putting 2 number 6s in there, I put a couple of number 8s. I mean, big deal.
Yeah, because I mean, you can put a lot of rebar in here, right?
Yeah, this is 6 inch, so every finger can take up to 2 bars. This is a number 4 bar, and then I've got a number 5 corner down there, just because I had them and they were easier than bending number 4s. So we use number 5 bars and number 4, and you can see down there in the corner, if you right here, we put them on top of each other. See the number 4 and the number 5 corners right on top of
overlap,
it. Yeah, they overlap, and then I don't have to tie anything, because these fingers, they keep it from coming out.
Oh, I see.
I can get it out if I want to.
To recap, you have a common seam. This is what he was talking about, a common seam right now. This seam is going to go all the way up. Okay, and the reason for that is because he's trying to keep these tabs lined up. All these, he wants them lined up so that when you're doing drywall or anything, then they're all in line. Otherwise, they're going to be staggered, and if you're doing your drywall, you're going to start screwing your sheet in, and then here you're just going to hit foam. So you're going to have to hunt for it. So keep them in line. He's going to show us a trick later on how to support all these to make sure they don't blow out on pour day. Right, Jason? He's going to show us a trick how to make sure these don't blow out on pour day, right?
Yeah, I'm going to show that. We're going to do it last, because when we put our braces in, we're going to plumb everything. It'll move that joint. So one of the last steps that we do is we plumb up the wall, we check all our joints. We're going to put a foam to foam glue, and that's a video that I wanted to do, so we'll do that, and we'll show you the proper way to foam glue it.
All right, so that's how far they got with the blocks. They actually ran out of corners. They didn't bring enough. But also, these guys need to finish grading this foundation, so we're gonna do they're gonna put some base inside of there, because we're gonna do concrete there as well. They're gonna cut all these beams out here, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna finish that ICF. So that's as far as the ICF is gonna get today. These guys are gonna keep working on the foundation. All right, so we're gonna get out of the concrete guy's way, let them work on the foundation, and we'll be back next time. We'll finish that ICF room. All right, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. We are Texas Barndominiums. See ya.